Is the apparent practice of Satanism. That's worship of the devil. Now, police have been skeptical when investigating these acts, just as we are in reporting them. But there is no question that something is going on out there, and that's sufficient reason for 2020 to look into it. One caution, we believe that some of the pictures and descriptions in Tom Jarrell's report may be disturbing and even frightening, particularly to younger viewers. Here is Tom's report.
Dateline, Northport, Long Island. A quiet community rocked by reports a teenager was dragged through these woods toward a late-night ritual of death. An eyewitness said the victim, Gary Lowers, was forced to pray to Satan as he was repeatedly stabbed to death. 2 young men were arrested. James Troiano was found innocent last month, but his alleged accomplice never made it to trial. Ricky Casso committed suicide in jail the day after his arrest. Despite numerous signs that Casso was into Satanism and rock music associated with devil worship, police steadfastly refused to label this case satanic. The official explanation, a drug-related crime. Dateline, Phoenix, Arizona, 140 dogs found slaughtered. Across the country, police tell us, there have been more than 15,000 animal mutilations, and often they were clearly used in some kind of bizarre ritual, but there's no official explanation. Dateline, Walnut Grove, Alabama. Police are called in to investigate the site of what appears to have been a ritual. They find various satanic paraphernalia, including pictures of the devil. There was a routine inquiry which didn't discover what was going on here. Across this country and Canada, satanic graffiti is turning up on public buildings and abandoned buildings, where police suspect secret meetings are being held by people calling themselves Satanists, people who worship the devil. Most often found, the inverted 5-pointed satanic pentagram, the upside-down cross, the evil eye, references to Babylon, and the devil's number, 666. Vandals often target churches. Here in southern Maine, after a dozen churches were painted with satanic symbols, police arrested a suspect.
Worried about the message. That's one comment.
Although vandalism charges were later dropped, he offered an explanation for the church graffiti from behind a locked door.
Anyone that receives the mark of the beast, which is 666, is his number, is going to burn in hell forever and ever.
It's the way some people interpret the Bible. The book of Revelations, where it's written, Satan can be identified by the number 666, calling him the beast, which deceiveth the whole world. The goat's head is a key symbol of the beast. Yet throughout history, Satan has taken on many different shapes and disguises. He's widely considered by conventional religions as the embodiment of evil, on a mission to tempt man to sin and destroy God's kingdom. Today, we have found Satan is alive and thriving, or at least plenty of people believe he is. His followers are extremely secretive, but found in all walks of life. Modern Satanism was shockingly dramatized on the screen in the mid-60s with the release of Rosemary's Baby.
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
He has his father's eyes.
It's a movie that's been described as the best advertisement that devil worship has ever had.
What are you talking about? Guy's eyes are normal. What have you done to him, you maniac?
Satan is his father, not Guy. He came up from hell and begat a son of mortal woman. Hail, Satan!
Hail, Satan!
Satan is his father, and his name is Adrian. He shall overthrow the mighty in their temples. He shall redeem the despised and wreak vengeance.
The zeal of these fictional devil worshippers is strikingly similar to that of real-life Satanists.
God is dead! Satan lives!
See, these guys, they wouldn't leave him alone.
Mike Warnke is a former Satanist. Today, he's a successful comedian, preaching Christianity in the form of humor. But back in the 60s, he was one of Satanism's high priests.
The things that you would see in a satanic altar.
He showed us what a satanic temple might resemble, and typical implements used to worship the devil.
The bones usually are used in a ceremony that calls for telling the future with the bones or a part of the deceased person.
He also explained what attracted him to Satanism.
I was basically drawn into it when I was young, just wanting to be somebody special. I just wanted to be different than everybody and have something that was special that everybody, looked up to.
This is a 15-year-old boy who also wanted to be special. Before hanging himself, he wrote on his body, "I'm coming home, Master, and Satan lives." And 666. It was a case with such clear satanic symbols, it brought two police officers together. Sandy Gallant is one of them. She's a San Francisco policewoman and now a leading authority on satanic crime, a specialty other cops often scoff at.
As time goes on, maybe my work gets a little more credibility. There's one guy that still walks around, and when he sees me, he goes like this wherever he goes. But I've gotten pretty much used to that.
Why did you go? The other officer is Dale Griffiths, chief of a small police department halfway across the country in Tiffin, Ohio.
We have kids being killed. We have people missing in America. We have our own MIAs right here. We have cattle being killed. We have all types of perversion going on, and it's affecting America.
America is being affected. Nationwide, we found that minor cases of satanic activity light up the map. Not a single state is unaffected. But even more frightening is the number of reported murders and suicides with satanic clues. All of them were investigated by police, but usually without much result. We found that Satanism falls into three categories. One, self-styled Satanist, a growing number of young people who dabble in devil worship. Two, religious Satanist, people who publicly worship the devil, a right that's protected by law. And three, satanic cults, what appear to be highly secretive groups committing criminal acts, including murder. First, let's examine self-styled Satanists like Ricky Casso. Often they're teenagers who learn that the message of Satanism is for sale right in the neighborhood. This shopping mall in affluent Westchester County, New York, exemplifies how easy it is for children, or adults for that matter, to get their hands on satanic material. We stress it's perfectly legal, and these are typical commercial outlets you'll find just about anywhere. 3 stores side by side, a bookstore, a music store, a videotape center, each offering seemingly harmless types of entertainment, like movies. Here at the neighborhood videotape store, take a look at the number of movies that involve Satanism. Most were popular films in their day, but even today, if one is inclined to believe in Satanism, it's a way to actually see the devil and perhaps be inspired. In The Exorcist, it is the tremendous power of the devil himself controlling a little girl's body against the will of a priest that makes the movie still one of the most popular examples of evil versus good.
By this sign the blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father.
It wasn't that a demon jumped out of the TV and grabbed me by the face and dragged me down the road and forced me to join the Church of Satan. It was just that there were certain things in this program that piqued my interest, and then I decided to study more on my own. And if the devil has PR, then it is, cinema.
Then there's also the satanic literature, which includes many books that are sold in many bookstores. Librarians point out that they're among the most popular books on their shelves. Here, as in almost any bookstore, you'll find both the Satanic Bible and its companion, the Satanic Rituals, a step-by-step guide to performing evil rites.
Kids get their ideas, especially their psychological pumping up, so to speak, from the literature. And books play an extremely important part.
And finally, music, which is found here in the neighborhood record store under the category of heavy metal music. The satanic message is clear, both in the album covers and in the lyrics, which are reaching impressionable young minds. And the musical message comes across loud and clear at concerts and now through rock videos. The symbolism is all there. The satanic pentagram, the upside-down cross, the blank eyes of the beast, the rebellion against Christianity, and again, the obsession with death. According to most groups, it's all done in fun, but according to police, it's having an effect on many children, a growing subculture that mixes heavy metal music with drugs and the occult. In addition to groups that are blatantly satanic, there are also many recordings which some believe may contain satanic references in the form of backward messages. What's a popular song that has a reference to the devil in it? Chris Edmonds is a Detroit disc jockey
Stairway to Heaven.
whose specialty is finding secret recorded messages exhorting the devil by playing music popular with kids in reverse. a technique they've learned to use.
There's still time to change the road you're on.
Okay, the phrase we're looking for is, and there's still time to change the road you're on.
Now flip it for us.
Okay. A lot of people hear the phrase, my sweet Satan. Here, let me play this backwards. Can you hear it?
My sweet Satan. How often do you find heavy metal music indicators at the scene of a crime involving satanic worship?
Probably about 35-40% of calls.
Regularly, then?
Yes.
This artwork is from a homicide case that combined heavy metal music with self-styled Satanism. It's the work of 18-year-old Scott Waterhouse, a so-called Satanist whose drawings clearly show he had murder on his mind. He's now serving a life prison term for the slaying of 12-year-old Giselle Cody. Before this case, officers here at the local police station in Sanford, Maine, had never even heard about satanic crimes. But that's all changed. The officer who broke the case was State Detective Mo Olette. When you reached the crime scene, what did you find?
When I reached the crime scene, the local police had cordoned the area off, showed me the bank and where the young lady was found. She was probably killed right there at that particular area. She was strangled.
Waterhouse was seen leaving the crime scene, and in a deposition, when he was later questioned by Officer Olette, he seemed almost proud to boast, "I'm a Satanist." Waterhouse also described how he first became involved in it. In a bookstore, my friend
believe it to the letter. It's a very dangerous manifesto.
The author of the Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey, is a former lion tamer and palm reader who in 1966 founded the First Church of Satan. It quickly became the country's most prominent satanic organization, fully protected as a religion under the law.
This is a very selfish religion. We believe in greed, we believe in selfishness, we believe in all of the lustful thoughts that motivate man because this is man's natural feeling. This is based on what man naturally would do.
The Church of Satan and other organized devil worship groups represent our second category, religious Satanists. Although LaVey would not talk to us, we can get a glimpse of his theories and his rituals in this 1970 documentary on his church.
We feel a person should be free to indulge in all of the so-called fetishes that they would desire, as long as they don't hurt anyone that doesn't deserve or wish to be hurt. Hail Satan! Hail Satan! We perform human sacrifices, by proxy, you might say, the destruction of human beings who would, let's say, create an antagonistic situation towards us in the form of curses and hexes. Not in actual blood rituals, because certainly the destruction of a human being physically is illegal.
Police we spoke to say they have never made a link between this satanic church and the satanic crimes being committed. However, some incidents described to us by witnesses from around the country are strikingly similar to these ritualistic scenes. For example, the ritualistic embracing of death, actually being placed inside a coffin containing a body.
Lo, you are free to end it when you will.
Or ritualistic sacrifice, using a voodoo-type doll to place a curse on an unsuspecting victim. It's nothing that can be called physically harmful or illegal.
Almighty Satan, destroy those who love God.
Although not connected to the Church of Satan, these 12-year-old boys, with their parents' consent, demonstrated how they were taught to inflict pain on their enemies. They also claimed they witnessed sacrificial murder by members of our third category of Satanism, satanic cults.
Pray for us,
Police have found no proof, made no arrest. But that's no surprise. For nationwide, police are hearing strikingly similar horror stories, and not one has ever been proved. Take, for example, this case, the mother of a young victim who asked not to be identified.
Usually they have the children kill the infants or the other kids.
The children who were there actually
Right.
were given knives?
Yes, they were. And if they refuse to do it, an adult, usually the child's father or mother would actually take the child's hand and make them kill the child.
There's also this similar case that links child sex abuse with murder.
The children were given knives and told to go and stab those bodies. And my grandchildren told me that they couldn't do that, that it wasn't possible, that they could only get the knives to go in about that far. And then the adults put their hands over the children's hands and shoved the knives in.
Was there any reference to the devil?
No.
Yes.
And this case now under police investigation involving young boys describing murder.
Tell me what you were asked to do.
I was asked to stab him.
To stab him. And this was in front of the other people who were there? Were you given a knife?
Yes.
And were you told what would happen to you if you didn't?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what they said?
This will happen to you.
So you either stab him or you'll be stabbed was about what it came down to. When the oldest boy describes stabbing him with a knife, what's his reaction?
It's a hard thing for him to say. He's been more apt to act it out.
Do you remember his eyes?
With their guardian's consent, the boys used a doll to illustrate what they did.
You say you were given the knife, and then what did you do?
Go like this.
Did you push the knife all the way in deep, or did you just touch the skin?
All the way in deep.
In deep. Were you in the room where this was going on? Did you see what happened to the child that was stuck with the knife?
Yeah.
What do you remember?
Or blood.
Ritualistic murder has become a specialty for San Francisco's chief medical examiner.
Are local investigators really prepared, equipped? Do they know what to look for when investigating these cases?
No, I don't think they do. Even though many different people are trying to get out the message about ritualistic or funny types of killings, first of all, just on their face value, they sound so unusual or bizarre that most people hearing that message really don't think that it's true.
It's bizarre and hard to prove. Yet details that were told to us in interviews conducted across the country were later verified by authorities, who say there are consistent telltale clues. And they provide a checklist of 6 satanic practices to look for. For example, being placed inside a coffin. It's an experience that many children are describing.
Well, the adults would dig up the caskets from the graveyards, and all the members, including the children, were made to lay in the remains of whatever was in the casket.
Get in a casket with a decomposed body?
Right, and then the casket was closed, and they would be lowered into the ground while they were in the casket.
The author of a popular book on Satanism, Dr. Lawrence Pastor.
Children are involved in graveyards and crematoria, in funeral parlors, because one of the primary focuses of these people is death. Everything is attempted to be destroyed and killed in that child and in society, everything of goodness. And death is a major preoccupation.
Another indicator, satanic paraphernalia. In every case, the children talk about precisely the same setting.
They described a satanic goat's head being on the wall over the table. They described a lot of candles. And they described people in black and white robes with hoods.
The hood, Mike, what's this for?
This is to create for whoever's practicing a magical atmosphere.
The colors mean anything?
Yeah, the red ones would be used for some types of sexual rituals, people who are doing sexual magic. This would be used for ordinary ceremonies and also for ceremonies where you would be throwing a curse on somebody.
Another indicator, kidnapping. In almost every case, the children have talked about children who were snatched and later sacrificed.
They were taught to aid in the kidnapping of children. What they would do is the kids would go and play with the children and then tell them that they were either going to go to a party or that there was some toys or whatever and get them so they weren't on the move, and then her father and other members would grab the kids.
Do you find missing children sometimes fall prey to these people?
I believe that they do. We can't prove that they do. But as a law enforcement officer, I question 2 million children missing in the United States, knowing that many, many of those are not runaways and are so young that they couldn't run away anyway.
Number 4, sexual abuse aimed at destroying faith in God. It's being described by numerous children.
What were the parallels with what the boys have told you and the worship of Satan?
Well, first of all, the sexual abuse, the pornography, which always seems to go hand in hand. The boys talked about how these people actually said, "I hate God," and they used a very deep voice when they talked about that.
One of their primary aims is to destroy the belief system within a child, to make a child turn against what they believe in terms of who they are, of who God is, and to desecrate all manner of flesh, all manner of church institution, all manner of sign and symbol that a child could in any way be attached to.
Cannibalism. It's difficult to believe, but in every case we examined, children described it.
The hearts were cut out, and the children were made to chew pieces of these children's hearts, pieces of their flesh.
Is cannibalism part of the ritual?
The children have spoken about this in almost every instance. Also, human feces, or drinking the urine, or drinking human blood.
That's part of the ritual.
Right.
I have an old 3-inch scar here on my wrist where my friends used to cut my arm open and bleed my blood into a cup and drink it mixed with wine and urine 4 times a year as a ceremony to Satan.
And finally, cremation. Most of the children describe witnessing it. It might explain why no bodies have been found. So far, police have failed to make the connection, as in the case of yet another youngster who, with his mother's consent, described how bodies were disposed of.
He would take the bodies and put a trash bag over the feet and head. He'd put it, and then what he would do is he had his car parked out back. So he took them to the funeral home, and they were cremated, and nobody ever knew anything about the bodies.
These people cover their tracks very well. When they dispose of a body, they use that body as well. They will use, as I said, they will cremate that body. They will use the ashes that will become part of what they will continue to present to that particular group, and they will disperse that. They're not going to do some simple murder and leave a body in a stream for you to pick up the pieces of.
6 clues that point to the illegal worship of Satan, each based on the testimony of children, and none of it has ever been proved.
The problem that exists is we're getting the stories, but we don't have the victims. Once it's proven with one case, it's going to add more credibility to each one of the other cases.
Until that one case is proved, the link between crime and satanic cults will remain speculative. The victims in this report did break the grip of Satanism, but each is left with permanent scars, and experts say they were lucky to escape.
When you get into one of these groups, there's only a couple ways you can get out. One is death. The other is mental institutions. Or the third, you can't get out.
That's terrifying, and that's no choice.
Serious business.
If the police were aware of this, it might be that they could get to the instigators, to the top people. Why isn't there more awareness on the part of the police?
Police are very reluctant to investigate these crimes as satanic crimes, Barbara, because communities quite naturally don't want their reputation stigmatized as being the home of the devil. They prefer to try to categorize them as drug-related crimes, sex-related crimes, or robbery or something that they're more familiar with.
Individual, rather than finding out who's